Hey guys, Tony here. Just wanted to make a video that basically went over all the different plexi, I guess that we have to know. So the brachial and the lumbosacral. Basically, I figured out a way to memorize them really quickly, jot them down on the test, right before we take it. So let's just do these real quick. First one is the brachial plexus, and the brachial plexus is easy. You just start off with three major lines. And for these two, you add the two little notches. You create the little check mark with an X, the check mark with an X going through it as well, just made differently. And just need a few more structures. Add one there, three there, two right there, one here, and a nice long one. There you go. So now you created basically all your branches. And of course you have your marmu, which is easiest way to remember in my eyes. It's musculocutaneous, axillary, radial, median, and ulnar nerve. And then you have your lateral pectoral right there. You got your upper, middle, and lower subscapular. And remember, guys, the middle subscapular is also known as the thoracodorsal. Okay, so right underneath that you have your three M's, and then it's your medial pectoral, your medial brachial cutaneous, and your medial antebrachial cutaneous. So MMM, ABC, BC, P. Up here you have your suprascapular, so it's above your subscapular. Right underneath there you have your nerve to the subclavian, and to the right of the suprascapular you have your dorsal scapular. And finally, this long, beautiful one is your long thoracic. So there you go. That's your brachial plexus. And always remember to drink cold beer. So these are for just the different sections right here. You have your roots or rami. You have your trunk, your divisions, your chords, and your branches. Okay, cool. Just another quick note. If you look at the A, the axillary, you can put a 2 right there. You can put a 2 next to the lower subscapular and a 2 next to the M, and a 2 next to your suprascapular. So all these ones will be innervating two muscles right there. Okay, so that basically covers the brachial plexus. Oh, and of course, just one last thing. C5, C6, C7, C8, and T1. So if you guys want to go through and, you can kind of map out what's being innervated by what. So your dorsal scapular C5, your suprascapular is coming from both, so that'd be a C5, C6 innervation, and you kind of can go down the line with that. Cool, so that's one quick way to draw the plexus. And yeah, that should be about it. I don't think we really need any more material than that. I mean, just for like comprehensive purposes, we could say you got your lateral, posterior, and medial trunk just shooting across. Okay, so we kind of solidified that earlier, and it's nice to have just a quick way to do it. Let's now go and do the lumbar plexus. This is one I don't think many of us have really touched yet. Lumbar plexus. But we're going to have to know it come the exam, and I think it'd be nice, again, to have an easy way to draw this one. It is easier to understand than the brachial plexus, in my opinion. So the first thing you do is you draw 6 parallel lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There you go. Then you do little arrowheads on each sixth. So far so good. You leave this last one empty. And let's number them real quick. So you have your T12, your L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. Do the arrows, and then you skip this between, you create another branch right there. You skip here, and you create another arrow. And you can always grab, so for this second arrow, you can make kind of like a big arrow like that. So arrowhead, large arrow, and the branches on the first 5. Now you're about 80% done drawing it. There's just a couple more things. So for these branches, you connect these two. You're going to want to skip the next one. And then for the top of T1 right here, you want to connect to the top of T3. And then the bottom of L2, L1, L2, L3. And then the bottom of L2, you want to connect to the bottom of L3. And you also want to bring an L4 with it. And then finally, you can just connect the bottom of L4 to L5. So that's your whole plexus. Again, not as nicely put as the brachial, but still a relatively easy way to draw it. And this is the most important part, is the mnemonic, right? So let's skip T12 at first, because a lot of the textbooks we have, they sometimes include it. Some of them don't, some of them do. So if we were to start at the L1 branch, it goes I, G, and then it will go L, O, and F. And the mnemonic, I think of this as interested in getting laid on Friday. I like that one. So interested in getting laid on Friday. And, they always say sex is the thing that sticks with us most. So it's a good one to remember. And on the top one, we have S. And the bottom one, that's the lumbosacral. So we'll actually get into this plexus next, but that's kind of where the connectivity happens. So this S right here stands for subcostal. This I is ilio-hypogastric. Second I is ilio-inguinal. This G over here is your genitofemoral. This L right here is your lateral cutaneous nerve. And this F is the big femoral nerve. Has a lot of things attaching to it. And this O as well, big, it's your obturator. And in a previous video, I mentioned that femoral and obturator, these things are going to be controlling anterior and medial compartments for your thigh. So they're pretty huge. All right, so there's your lumbar plexus. This one's actually a lot easier to map out to see what's getting what spinal nerve innervation. So your subcostal, you see it attaches right here. So this is just going to be T12, right? And then your ilio-hypogastric, that's actually going to be, so it's coming from T12 and L1. So this you could write here is T12 and L1. And then your iliolinguinal is really just getting from L1, so that's L1. Your genitofemoral is grabbing from both these branches, so that's going to be L1 and L2. Your lateral cutaneous is grabbing from L2 and L3, So that's L2, L3 innervation. Your femoral, big one right here, grabbing from L2, taking from L3 and L4. So that's L2 all the way to 4. Your obturator is doing the same thing. It's grabbing from 3, 4, and then this big swoosh right here is your 2. So just draw, the big arrow, L2 to L4. And then again, the lumbar sacral, or the lumbosacral plexus we'll get into a little later, or actually right now. We'll just skip right into it. So this is the lumbar plexus. Again, you can jot it down real quick, just the 6 lines, the arrowheads, and then the little connections with the big swoops. Okay, so next one we're going to be doing is the sacral plexus. So the sacral plexus, this is actually, looks really intimidating when you look at it online, but again, really similar to that lumbar plexus. So you're going to do that same thing, draw 6 parallel lines. And let's number the spinal nerves. So there we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you got spinal nerves starting from L4, L5, S1, S2, S3, and S4. Okay, cool. So once you get all those down, what you're going to do is you're going to start drawing little mountains at the end of each of these branches. So mountaintop, 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 and mountaintop. Cool, so almost there. Once you're done with that, you draw a straight line between these two with a little jut coming out. And then for the rest, you finish those mountaintops. Mountaintop, mountaintop, and mountaintop. And then you give them little branches. Finally, you take one really big branch and you bring it all the way from L4 all the way down just past S3. And you create little connections for each one. There you go. There's your sacral plexus. So now all you got to do is name it, right? So to name it, you have your superior gluteal nerve. You got your inferior gluteal. Right underneath that, you have your, what is this one? The PFC. And then your pudendal. So all right, sorry about that. It's posterior femoral cutaneous, or again in our textbooks, just posterior cutaneous. Okay, so again, you have your superior gluteal, your inferior gluteal, posterior femoral cutaneous, and your pudendal, and this huge one is your sciatic. So that's about it. Just don't forget the sciatic branches off into 2 other nerves, your common fibular nerve and your tibial nerve. And again, this is kind of similar with the simplicity of kind of, drawing out where these spinal roots come from. Let me just fix this 4 right here. I guess the computer doesn't like me today. Come on. Okay. And again, so your superior gluteal is going to have spinal nerves coming from L4, branch down to L5, and branching down to S1. So the first one's L4 to S1, and then the inferior gluteal goes all the way up to L5, back down to S2, and this connection in the middle to S1. So that's L5 to S2. And then if you follow the pattern down, you can see where you're going from this. So this will go from S1 to S3. And your pudendal would go from S2 to S4. And then finally, your sciatic is L4 all the way to S3. And again, don't forget your common fibular and your tibial nerve. They're also going to be taking from that. We can mention them here. They're going to be, branches off of here, off the sciatic. And let's call this bottom one the tibial nerve, and this one the common fibular nerve. And those are actually going to be L4 to S3 as well for the tibial. And for the common fibular nerve, that's going to go L4 down to S2 right above here. Okay, so there's your sacral plexus. There are a couple easier ways to do this one if you are on a time crunch on a test, or you don't care to visualize it this way. I'm going to show you guys two more ways to do it. And one last thing, the acronym for this is SIPS, SIPPS. So SIPS, easy way to remember that. So let's do the quick way for the sacral plexus. There's a couple ways you could do it. First one you can just write the numbers in succession of 3. So 4, 5, 1, 5, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3. So you can see how the linear pattern comes up. So 4, 5, 1, 5, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. You have rows of 1s, rows of 2s, rows of 3s. Pretty easy. And again, this is sacral plexus. Okay, so once you do that, you just kind of block them off. So this first one, let's block. Second one, block. Third one, block off. Fourth one, block off. And this last one is going to actually be the big sciatic. So we drag this line all the way down and encompass 3, and that's it. And then you just kind of draw out lines, and you write your mnemonic, or your acronym, SIPS, S-I-P-P-S. So you have your superior gluteal, inferior gluteal, your posterior cutaneous, your pudendal, and your sciatic. SIPS. Pretty easy, right? There is another way to do it, so let's do version 2.0. And that's actually just writing it down in a straight line. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then again, you kind of block off with successions of 3. So this is probably clearest using different colors. And I know we're probably not going to have different colors on the exam. But let's do the first one in red. Second block off in blue. And we'll make the boxes just a bit bigger every time to clarify what we're doing here. 3. And we'll do right here for the last one. And then, of course, the big sciatic we'll do in purple. And that is everything but the last one. And then we'll have the purple there. So again, all you got to do is write that acronym out, SIPPS, and you get your superior gluteal, your inferior gluteal, your posterior cutaneous, your pudendal, and your sciatic. So those are 2 other variations of how you can do the sacral plexus. One last thing we should do, just to kind of let you visualize what's happening here, is you're getting, so the lumbar and the sacral plexus, they go together. We split them up because it's easier that way, but they are one giant plexus. So in order to kind of give us an idea, we just take the 2 that we just did and combine them. So you draw 10 lines this time. And again, this is just combining those 2 plexes that we learned a couple of minutes ago. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One more line. There's 10. And of course, you start at T12, L1, L2, L3, L4, L5, S1, S2, S3, and S4. Cool. So we got everything down. And remember, for the lumbar plexus, you just do the arrowheads for the first 5, right? And we'll leave this here right now. This is actually, this will be part of the sacral plexus. Okay, so, and then we draw the first arrowhead, the second arrow with the big swing, and it can really be coming from anywhere. So there's that first plexus that we can start to name. Well, just real quick, these two connect, right? And then the top of L2 to the top of L3, and the bottom of L2 to the bottom of L3 plus the top of L4. And there you go. So we just use our quick mnemonic. Interested in getting laid on Friday. So again, you have your iliohypogastric, your ilioinguinal, your genitofemoral, your lateral cutaneous, your obturator, and your femoral. And then this goes down to the lumbar plexus. So you'll see right now how this will kind of branch out. You also have, of course, the S up here, and that is your subcostal. Cool? So that's it. And then, of course, I'm going to let you guys get to it with, this is just T12, this is T12 and L1, the femorals 2, 3, and 4. So then you start your second plexus down here. So again, mountaintops, 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 all the way down. And then you make that little connecting bridge and more mountaintops. I love mountaintops. Little connections. Okay. And then from L4 all the way down to S3, we're bringing that huge branch of the sciatic. That's kind of redundant. We don't need that. Okay, so 1 connection, 2 connection, 3 connection, 4. Cool. And then, of course, you remember the acronym SIPS, S-I-P-P-S. So you get your superior gluteal, inferior gluteal, posterior cutaneous, pudendal, your sciatic, and then the sciatic with the 2 branches of the tibial and the common fibular. That's it, guys. You got your brachial plexus, you got your lumbar plexus, your 3 different ways of doing the sacral plexus, and the combination of the lumbosacral plexus. So be nice to get a little head start and kind of know what we're going to be dealing with in the future. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and the mnemonics and all the whatnot. It's really late and I'm getting tired, so have a good night, everyone, and good luck.